Welcome back to Vertical Thoughts, the climbing podcast by climbers for climbers. I have a very special guest here today. Brooke, go ahead and introduce yourself.
So I'm Brooke, and I've been climbing for a couple years now. My very first time climbing was actually probably about 5 years ago, but I've been climbing regularly for about 2 years. I actually met Liam through a mutual friend that we had climbing. She introduced us at the climbing gym.
Thank you, Nicole, if you're listening to this. I was in desperate need of attention and affection, and I'm no catch. Trust me, we're down in the 2-3 out of 10 range for being realistic about it. Yeah, she's very sympathetic to my plight, is and was. So thank you to Nicole for setting us up. Zach Manzani, who was a guest on the show. Nicole is his girlfriend. They live in Wisconsin together. Brooke happens to be my girlfriend. You may have put that together right now if you're a more astute listener. Thank you, by the way, for being intelligent and choosing our podcast today. And also, I'm just happy to have Brooke on the show here because it's been a little while that we've started the podcast and that we've been doing these episodes. We're on episode 5 now. So we're actually celebrating 2 things today. It is March 17th today. It's a Sunday. It happens to be St. Patrick's Day today. We actually went and climbed earlier. I didn't know it was St. Patrick's Day until about probably like 2 or 3 o'clock actually, when Brooke mentioned that we should get Irish beer, and I was confused as to why she just randomly wanted to have Irish beer, but it makes a lot more sense now. And the second thing that we're celebrating is, of course, like I mentioned, 5th episode of Vertical Thoughts. It's a cool landmark, and I've wanted to have Brooke on the show. Brooke, how do you feel about being here in front of the microphone?
I feel pretty good. I mean, I've been a part of this kind of from the start, like listening to you and you sharing ideas with me, and you listening to the podcast together, and sharing feedback. So I'm really happy to be kind of making my way on here.
Yeah, she's been a part of the behind the scenes with me since the very beginning. This is the first podcast that we're recording here together in person, actually, because we live together. And it was a lot easier to do it that way than to give her her own microphone and computer and put her in the other room. But also we tried pretty resiliently, I would say, to film this episode with a couple different cameras, make ourselves a little studio setup. And about 28 minutes in, we discovered both cameras stopped recording. At about 21 minutes, we were discouraged from our operation. We're going to get a video studio set up so you guys can have video to go along with these podcasts. If you listen on Spotify or iTunes, you couldn't care less. So, but those of you who are watching on YouTube, we will have video content soon, I promise.
Right. It was a good learning opportunity. First video to come soon.
Yeah, and it was going pretty well, I think. So we're scratching at the door. You know what I mean? We're going to kick it wide open soon here. But today I have Brooke on the show to talk about something pretty specific. It was the fall herd around the world. Brooke, I'd say roughly what? Not a year ago, 8 months ago?
September 21st.
September 21st.
2018.
2018. That's 9/21. Remember it. That was, 6 months ago, roughly? Mm-hmm. 6 months in a couple days, but Brooke took a pretty nasty fall at Vital Climbing Gym here, our home climbing gym in Marietta. Full disclosure, I was filming her at the time, and I did fully exploit her injury for my own personal gain. But I did,
Heartless.
It just be like that sometimes. I did share my my oodles of YouTube money that I received from posting a video about your fall. I did share that with you, of course.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, she got her 50-ish%. All right, so moving forward. No, I was filming Brooke at the time. We were filming a vlog. For those of you who don't know, we also do climbing vlogs. If you go to youtube.com/foxholemusic, you'll be able to find those videos. A lot of fun and usually injury-free, mostly injury-free. It has been 90 days since our last injury here on the vlogs. And we're both being distracted by our cat right now.
180.
It has been 180 days since our last injury. I'm part of the quick maths gang.
Yeah.
We're both being distracted by our cat right now.
Yeah.
There's something going on in her house, so she wants to be a part of it.
Yes. She has an incapability to just hang out and chill by herself in a different room, so she is very present here on the podcast. You likely will hear her complain if we go too long without paying attention to her.
Yeah, she's very needy. She takes after her father. But I was filming Brooke when she fell. There were many people at the climbing gym with us. It was pretty late, probably 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And Brooke was on a rather difficult V5 climb that she was trying. And she took a little bit of an unfortunate fall. Brooke, I'm going to let you explain it a little bit better because I know you were there.
So it was actually my very first V5. I was kind of pushing the V4, V5 grade in my climbing at the time. And so I'd been working on this climb for actually a few weeks, and it was going to be taken down shortly thereafter. And I had made a lot of progress on it. I was pretty close to finishing it, and I'd made a lot of progress just that night. And I was really excited about just getting it done and doing my first V5, and everyone else was excited for me. We were filming for the vlog, and I was finally on that last move there. I was moving from the last hold to the top of the wall, and I just didn't have the best footing, and I didn't feel that safe, but I had come so far on it, and I thought maybe I was just psyching myself out for no reason. So I really went for it, and my foot just kind of slipped. My fingers touched the top of the wall, but didn't really grab it. And it was an unexpected fall, but it was fairly controlled. I landed with both my feet on the ground, but just my right ankle kind of popped out to the side, and it was all downhill from there. I knew I was very hurt.
Yeah, I remember very clearly. I was filming Brooke on the climb, and she fell. I'll explain it as unambiguously as I can. A really basic run-of-the-mill climbing gym fall. I mean, she, maybe 10 or 12 feet. It's a 40-degree wall, so she fell straight down to the ground. The whole floor of the gym is padded, and under any kind of normal circumstances, no big deal, right? Just kind of get up, brush yourself off, try the climb again. There's nothing anyone could have done about it because it was just came down to where her foot ended up. The torque that was put on at a certain angle, and twisted her ankle in a way that it shouldn't have been twisted, and then next thing I know, she hits the ground with her face twisted in pain, and she's obviously hurting. And she's a tough cookie, so I knew that if she was outwardly in pain, then it was pretty bad. So I remember it very clearly. You obviously do too. What about the moment itself? There was something I liked in the recent free solo film with Alex Honnold, and he mentions when he took a fall outdoors free climbing and he injured his ankle. He mentions, I don't really know what happened. He said, I don't really remember. I was climbing and then I was falling. Was that how it was for you, or do you remember the moment when you lost control?
Sort of. It was similar to that. And I remember watching that with you and listening to him talk about that. And I related in some ways, in others I didn't. It was, like I said, an unexpected fall. I did really think I was going to make that last move. I mean, obviously the top of the walls, you can get a good grip on that. It's not like a sloper or anything. So I did think I was going to get it, and I suddenly was just on the ground in excruciating pain. But at the same time, looking back and playing it over, like I described already, the kind of moments leading up to that. So looking back and thinking about it again, I can definitely see how it happened.
Yeah, and losing control while rock climbing can be a very harrowing experience. Taking a bad fall and injuring yourself while rock climbing is much worse. And for those of you who have injured yourself while climbing, you know very well that it can be a long mental process, very grueling mental process as well, getting yourself back up on the wall in full confidence. And for those of you who are rock climbers, or those of you who listen to the podcast that are maybe new to climbing, you need confidence intact to be able to rock climb effectively. You cannot climb if your confidence has been shattered. You will not push your body to its physical limit, which is required for the sport. Just
right.
Bottom line. How would you say, if at all, your mental limits have shifted? Compare, I guess, two things. Now and shortly after the fall. How did you feel mentally about rock climbing shortly after the incident? And how do you feel about it now with the incident in your past?
Well, initially, after I got hurt, I was pretty excited about the prospect of getting back to climbing at some point. I knew it wasn't going to be too long, just a few weeks, maybe a couple months away. I was aware, though, that I might be really nervous when I got back. I wasn't sure how all that was going to go. This is my first major injury, so I've never been through this process before. So I was pretty excited. And then when I actually was healing a lot and I was walking around and I was kind of feeling like I could try a couple moves on the wall, just on some easy climbs, like a V1 or 2, it felt really good. It felt really good because my ankle felt okay. It hurt a little bit, but not too much where I wasn't able to climb. So I was pretty excited about, climbing was in the near future at that point. And after a few more weeks passed and I was ready to start completing climbs and doing some actual sessions, and then I had that first session, which we actually filmed for the vlog, I was not feeling good. I was feeling anxious and stressed and nervous and shaky. And I remember that day so clearly. Actually, I don't know if you even know this, but I haven't watched that video that you post on the vlog, my first day coming back. The Brooke is Back video is one that I haven't watched, because even though I'm sure the video was fine and it was good and I seemed okay, I haven't gone to watch it yet. I just didn't really want to watch that knowing how I felt during that video. I feel great now, though. My climbing is definitely different. I'll stop climbs prematurely that I know that I can do. Easy climbs for me. V3, I'll stop them and I'll just come down and I won't go back to them again. Just simply because it was at a certain angle. I had to use a certain hold that I maybe didn't feel safe on. It's just not worth it to me anymore for something that a climb that I'm not really excited about.
Yeah, that's an important question to ask yourself when climbing. What is worth pushing yourself and what is worth even possibly hurting yourself for? A lot of people only push themselves to that degree outdoors. Not to say that you made the conscious decision to do it indoors, but you were progressing in climbing and you were reaching towards, kind of your personal limit. You were on a climb that was right at the upper end of your difficulty spectrum that you can comfortably climb. And you found the ceiling. I mean, you tried to complete a move that forced you out of control. And do you feel like having a camera on you affected your decision making? Do you feel like me recording the vlog pushed you to push yourself harder on the wall? Did you do it for the Vine?
No, I didn't. I know that you did feel a little bit of guilt after I got hurt, maybe because of the cameras or maybe because you think spotting me would have changed anything. I don't think that any of the circumstances really changed anything other than the fact that it was my first V5. I'd been working on it. I was so close to finishing it. I think everybody else watching and supporting me maybe was a little bit of pressure, but the camera was just like another person there. I would say maybe the camera did encourage me a little bit, but not more than
Any
it being
kind
a
of
person.
bystander.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. And I don't necessarily feel responsible anymore. Always after the thought, you ask yourself, what could have happened differently? What could have I done differently? That's part of, loving someone and them getting hurt. It's going to be the same in any situation. Even if something horrible happens and a loved one, dies or passes away or, hurts themselves very severely or paralyzes themselves, some crazy accident like that, there's always going to be the question of what could I have done differently? It's a toxic question. There's really no good answer to it. So I've banished that from my brain. I don't think about it anymore. I don't hold myself any kind of responsible for what happened because I know that it's just it is what it is. Climbing is a dangerous sport. Literally, there's a big banner at our climbing gym that has like the rules of the gym. And no joke, it's probably 15 feet wide. It's huge. And at the top, it says climbing is dangerous. So there you have it.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
You know what you're getting into when you rock climb. Even if you're an experienced climber, I would say especially, that's a good one, right? More, better, and especially. Especially if you are an experienced climber, you're going to be pushing yourself into situations where you may get hurt. It's just the way that it is. And like I said, 10, 12-foot wall, 40 degrees, straight down to the ground on both feet. There was nothing anyone could have done differently. Even if I had spotted her, I may have even made it worse. It's the way it was.
Exactly. I do want to take a moment to say that Liam mentioned earlier that I was wanting to stop and get some Irish beers. We actually have them here right now. We grabbed a variety of different kinds. Guinness, actually, it's their 200th anniversary this year, so they put together a variety pack of their beers. So we've got them here right now to kind of taste all of them and see what's going on.
We're honoring St. Patrick the only way we know how. We're drinking alcohol.
Yes, is his life's purpose.
To honor a great man who did stuff. He was a great guy. It was a holiday.
Who did stuff.
Named after him. He did a good thing.
He actually did.
He did. I know things about him.
You're looking at me with dead eyes like you have no idea.
If you're looking for someone who knows things about St. Patrick, I am a well-versed man.
Okay.
On the subject.
So, okay, moving on. In the name...
I know nothing about St. Patrick, by the way.
I could not read you for the life of me on that.
Not a thing. No, I know that Americans drink a lot on St. Patrick's Day.
Your face and your tone told me you didn't know anything, but sometimes you do that when you do know something just to be funny.
The double layer of irony.
Yes. I couldn't figure out which one it was.
The irony sometimes goes 3-4 layers deep. You got to bust through it.
Yeah, sometimes you're a very intricate person. Well, yeah, in the name of St. Pat, we have here the original Guinness, which is
5.4, I think.
I think it's a 4 something.
4.5.
It might be 4.
It's like a 5.10 plus, I think.
It is a 4.2% alcohol. We also have their 200th anniversary edition, which is an export stout. It clocks in at 6%.
Oh, that's at least a 5.10 plus. Same fucking grade, dude. I'm a genius. That's why they put me on the air. I'm a genius. Me and Sean Evans.
Put you on the air.
No, that's the network.
What?
No, you think I make this show? No, I'm just the front man. Vertical Thoughts is brought to you by Disney. Everyone knows that.
Oh. Disney loves Guinness.
Disney, hit me up.
Actually, Disney does sell alcohol in their park.
We won't get into the logistics of that.
We won't. We also have here the Guinness Foreign Extra Stout. It is 7.5%.
We're to the 5.11 now. This one's like, we're talking, this is no Adam Andra's Silence, but this is a good hefty beer that she's picking up here.
Yes, definitely. It is very hefty in my hands right now. It is the Antwerpen Stout. It is... Shoot, where did
8%.
Is it?
It is 8%.
Oh, it is. Yeah. This is 8% alcohol. So we're going to work our way up. Right now we're going to try the Guinness Original. And throughout the show, we will try the other 3.
Yeah, so we're going to be, celebrating holidays, talking about rock climbing, talking about Brooke getting hurt, and hopefully getting a little swifty in the process.
I can always get swifty.
Woman after my own heart. Moving right along here. I want to clarify and say that I think Disney sells alcohol in their parks to keep parents from strangling their or other people's children. Anyways.
Yeah, they took too long to do that.
Falling and climbing.
Yes, falling.
I have injured myself climbing. I have known people who have injured themselves climbing. I have a friend actually who has a story where free climbing outdoors, or maybe top roping outdoors, I don't remember, but his dad fell and broke both of his legs. And he carried his dad multiple miles. I think it was 2 or 3 miles, maybe even more than that. I don't remember exactly, but multiple miles to their car. They had hiked. The approach was pretty far to get where they were climbing. So bottom line, climbing is a dangerous sport. You know what you're getting into. Sometimes things are going to happen, man. The most important thing is just have a plan, know what to do when things do happen, and take action. I mean, act quickly. That's the best and biggest thing you can do. Don't freeze up. Don't freak out. It's not going to help anything. If you or someone you know or someone you're with gets hurt outdoors, take some kind of action, unless you feel that you're going to be in the way or in any way detrimental to the situation. Then maybe take a step back and let other people lead. Not everyone has to be a hero. For example, I know when we were at Vital, we had so much help, and it was great. And thank you so much to everyone at Vital who was there during the incident, who rushed to Brooke's side and helped her out. And to those who stood back, and knew that they would just be crowding her, and just watched from afar and made sure she was okay. Even though it may have felt like you weren't helping, you definitely were helping. I know a lot of our climbing friends were there that night and were very extremely helpful. And they truly made the process a lot easier for us of just getting out of the gym, getting Brooke off the ground, getting into the car, off to the urgent care. So what was going through your head when you were on the way to the urgent care? You know what I mean? You had just been hurt. Everyone was kind of swarming you and trying to help you out. And I was obviously very worried, and I carried you to the car. What were you thinking about on the car ride? Because I'll be honest, you probably remember, because I said something about it. I was thinking about the YouTube video. I was like, dude, after I had gotten done making sure Brooke was okay, of course. I don't want to perjure myself here, but I was like, it was quiet for probably the first 2 or 3 minutes of the drive. We pulled up to a red light, and I turned to Brooke, and I was like, so, you want me to post a video? I was like, cha-ching, this is YouTube money right here, dude.
Can I film at the urgent care?
If there's one thing people on the internet love, it's chicks getting hurt.
Unfortunately, that is very true.
Very true.
People getting hurt in general.
But especially...
But I think...
chicks.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you there.
Freaking sickos.
So I wasn't in, extreme agony anymore like I was when it very first happened in the car. I was feeling a lot better. And we were kind of cracking jokes about it, and you brought up the YouTube, and I was like, heck yeah, we're going to post it. So
it's a good video. You guys should go watch it. It is, just saying, our most viewed video on our YouTube channel.
It truly is really good.
I believe it's up in the 8,000 or 9,000 views now.
Yeah, and that's attributed to you a lot. You did a great job with the video. Not quite as much as me, because... You
were great. You really captured what we were looking for.
I know people were always making jokes. Even people that I worked with that don't climb at all, have never been to the gym with us. They all know about the vlog, and they walk by me and my crutches and my scooter. The company I work for actually bought me a scooter so I could get around work better. They just walk by and look at me.
And we're talking a Razor scooter, right? 2 wheels, some grip tape.
But now all my coworkers are making jokes like, you just did it for the views, Brooke. Is that all it was? Are you even hurt?
I don't know how they found out, but that's absolutely true.
They cracked the case. Yeah.
Yes. We did it for the views, and we were successful. We're basically famous.
Truly, yeah.
Basically Famous also happens to be the title of my book coming this fall. Basically Famous, the Liam Wynn story. Moving forward, I want to say that it was humbling to experience that. I'm glad we filmed it. I'm glad we have the video. Going back and watching it and seeing how far we've come. You're actually climbing harder now than you were prior to that incident. Is that right?
Yeah, I am. It feels incredible. Like I said, that was my first V5. I actually climbed a V5 today, and it wasn't my first one. I haven't climbed a lot of them, but I'm definitely moving past the point where I was before I got hurt. So you and I have been working really hard together, and you've been supporting me a lot, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And it's the least I can do. Brooke and I have been climbing together for, pretty much as long as she's been climbing seriously. And just about as long as I've been climbing the last few years. Prior to that, I had a 2 or so year break from rock climbing. So it was about as long as I've been back into rock climbing. We've been climbing together. She's my climbing partner, the yin to my yang, the Tanner to my Mark, except we're not brothers.
No, we're not.
Some of you may remember we had Mark on the show. He was our first guest. His brother Tanner has not yet been on the show. That's who we are talking about right now, and you may not know them. But it's okay to use inside jokes, on the show.
Everybody loves when other people use inside jokes.
We just want you to feel excluded. That's all we want. Vertical thoughts. You don't know what we're talking about. Son? Okay, so truly, though, we're climbing partners. We have each other's backs. We're always at the gym together. We climb together. We push each other to climb harder. It's been cool for me to watch the progression that Brooke has had from the beginning, and then from the beginning to her being injured, and then from her injury back to where we are now. It has very obviously changed your technique on the wall. I see you being more careful, more precise, paying a lot more attention to what's going on. And we talk a lot about that on the show, paying attention to your body. Mm-hmm. Would you say that it has directly benefited your climbing, the incident that happened? Or was that more of a mental process that you put yourself through to not fall? In other words, is your climbing improved, which I've seen, causational? In other words, did it happen because you got hurt, and now by necessity, because you don't want to get hurt again, you climb better? Or was that something that you decided after you were hurt, that you wanted to brush up your technique a little bit, and progress and get better out of a desire to be a good climber?
So I definitely don't think that the injury made me a better climber in any way. I do think that it changed my view of it's kind of climbing in general. It changed my attitude toward it while I'm climbing. For instance, if I don't feel great about something, if I don't feel safe, basically is what I'm saying, I'm coming down. I don't care how easy the climb is. I don't care what the grade is. I don't care how long I've been working on it. If I'm just warming up, if I don't feel safe, I'm coming down. I don't think, though, at the same time that has limited my climbing in any way, because I very obviously am better than I was before, and it hasn't been that long. But it just really made me value the climbs that I'm doing. If something's not that important to me, then it's just not that important to me.
That's good. I mean, it's important, like we said before, to make that distinction between what's worth it and what's not.
Right.
It's been good to see you progressing. You're doing a great job. It's always fun to climb with someone you love, just because if you love climbing, and then you're able to share that with someone that you love, you're able to share their progression. And like we talked about in the very last episode, we talked about the triumph of self that rock climbing provides, and we were talking with Kobe. And I'm actually like this with Kobe too, and a couple other people, but you get to feel the triumph of self for other people when they really do something that is maybe outside of their grade range, or when they really push themselves hard, or do something cool, or dynamic, or stick a move that you thought they couldn't do, or they thought they couldn't do. You get to really feel that with them, and move with that alongside them. And that's how it is always for Brooke and for me. I am always watching Brooke when she's on the wall. Partially out of paranoia, to be honest. I mean, I'm having like World War II, Vietnam type flashbacks about you falling off the wall. So I tend to always be watching Brooke when she's on the wall now.
Sorry.
It happens. It had to happen. I'm glad that it happened, to be honest. Of course, I'm not happy that you hurt yourself, but obviously you've come a long way since then, and you've been real tough. So, but you get to share that, and I've gotten to share Brooke's path back to rock climbing and to being where she is now. So moving on, talking a little bit about your recovery. How are you feeling now on the wall? You're several days, several weeks, even several months past your injury, and you're fully recovered. How are you feeling?
I feel good. I'm still down climbing almost all the way down the wall. My ankle is still pretty tight, and it still hurts sometimes. Like if I jump off the wall maybe 5 or more feet, the next day it'll be pretty sore. And so it affects my climbing in that way, but it doesn't hold me back, really. I feel pretty good about it. I do get a little bit nervous if I'm higher up on the wall and I'm doing a more difficult climb. Depending on what the angle of the wall is, I'll kind of be a little bit more nervous. I don't want to fall from high up on the wall anymore, obviously. Not just because I don't want to get that same injury again, but also it's still pretty delicate. I mean, 6 months is a long time, but it's not long enough where it's like it was before. It doesn't hurt all the time, but I think it's still more prone to getting injured again. And I think if I fell from high up again, I don't think it'd be the same recovery time. I think it'd just be pretty sore for maybe a week. So.
Right. And it has lasting effects, and injuries last, a lot longer than your actual, quote unquote recovery period. Even once you're fully recovered, kind of the effects The butterfly effect of you injuring yourself kind of flows into everything you do. Even, as something as small as starting to favor the other leg or something like that. And then maybe you walk a little bit differently, and then maybe you get used to walking a little bit differently. And then maybe your entire life, and your body structure and your muscle composition can change because you now walk favoring one leg over the other without realizing it, because you had to do that for 3 months. And it's entirely possible that can happen. And especially without, some kind of physical therapist to monitor that stuff for you and to help you through that. It's tricky.
Right.
Brooke didn't have to go through any kind of physical therapy. We were lucky enough to be able to kind of go through a recovery just together, and to just kind of monitor her progress very closely. And let's talk a little bit about the night that you hurt yourself. Going into the urgent care and getting the X-ray, and we were there for probably till 3 or 4 in the morning. How were you feeling? What was going through your head that night sitting in the urgent care?
I was sort of in disbelief that it even happened. Like I said, this was the first major injury that I had. It's almost like being in a car accident or having anything else is sort of by chance happened to you. When it hasn't happened before, you're sort of in that ideation of, well, that doesn't happen to me. So when we were there and my ankle is twisted, visibly you can see that it's not okay. I was just sort of thinking, like, that's not me. I mean, I can't believe that we're here. I was just hoping that the prognosis would be good, the recovery time wouldn't be too long. And I really was wondering when I could climb again, because that's really, what I do most of my time. It's how we met, it's how we bonded, and I was just wondering how long I wasn't going to be able to do it.
And you got your answer, and that was a whopping 68 weeks.
Shut up.
So Brooke misheard said prognosis when asking the doctor the question, how long will I be injured for? What's the recovery period? The doctor promptly answered a standard 6 to 8 weeks. It being 1 in the morning, Brooke, being injured, tired, and shaken up, went pale and had a look of extreme shock on her face, but didn't say anything, didn't argue or anything, just kind of took it for what it was. Come to find out the next day, she had heard 68 weeks instead of 6 to 8 weeks. Not only had she heard that, she had told people.
Yes, I did.
68 weeks.
Like my employer, I told them.
Yes. 60. That's like a year and 3 months. Almost a year and 4.
It's a long time.
It's an incredibly long time, and it's been a long 68 weeks, and I can tell you, we still got a long ways to go.
Just once I said it out loud to you, I just had this overwhelming feeling of that can't be right. And then you looked at me like I was very crazy, and you said, Brooke, that's not right.
Brooke, 6 to 8 weeks is the thing.
And I've never felt more alive than that moment.
Yeah, well, when you realize you're only going to be out for a month and a half, 2 months, that's a sigh of relief. But it is what it is. And unfortunately, I heard 6 to 8 weeks, and I took that as scripture. And so on the 6th week, I was turning to Brooke and being like, "What are you doing? Why are you still in crutches? I don't understand."
Yeah.
It's been 6 weeks. You can walk now. I don't know if you heard the doctor, but you're like, you're better. So it took a lot longer than 6 weeks. Brooke wasn't climbing until I think like maybe 12 weeks. It was quite a while.
Yeah, it was a few months, definitely.
Quite a while until you were actually on the wall again climbing, and even longer until you were comfortable climbing.
Yeah, so my healing process definitely took a lot longer than that. When we were at the urgent care, all the equipment that they have at an urgent care is X-ray. They don't have a CAT scan, anything like that. So X-ray will only show you bones. You can't get any information about soft tissue or ligaments from the X-rays. So she didn't have the tools necessary to tell me exactly what my injury was and exactly how long it would be. But she gave me the most information that she could. And unfortunately, my injury was more severe than she had thought it was, that she was able to see. So my recovery time was about double that, maybe even a little bit more.
Yeah, it was a long process, and it kind of is what it is. It has to be what it is. Yeah, the worst thing to do is to rush back into it and injure yourself permanently.
Right.
I mean, that's always on the table, and that was my risk. I had a very, very minor tear in my rotator cuff, perhaps a year ago or so. Didn't do it climbing. I did
Not from climbing.
I did it throwing something across my bedroom And I moved my arm weird, and my arm dropped to my side, and I went, ow.
Poor technique,
Question mark?
Liam.
Yes, it was at least V9, whatever I was throwing across the room. And just gave me a tiny little tear in my rotator cuff, and the doctor was basically like, if it heals, you're Gucci. If it doesn't heal, we got to cut that bitch open and, fix it. And I was
That's
like,
how he talks.
That's my doctor's very unambiguous. He's straight to the point.
Because he's a chiropractor, that's why.
He's a chiropractor. He's the real deal. If
So-
you are in Southern California, go see Gene Cobb. He's the man.
Truly, yeah, Gene Cobb is the man. He's a great doctor. I do want to say, though, Liam was not climbing when he had that injury, but it was poor technique. And take the lesson that you always need to work on your technique in climbing. You will not climb high grades without good technique, and you will not climb safely without good technique.
Remember that. When you are doing laundry and throwing things across your room, if you choose to throw something directly to the left of you, maybe don't throw it with your right arm across your body. Maybe just grab it with your left hand and just toss it. That's the way God intended it. That's the way Grandpa did it. That's the way Dad does it. That's the way I do it. All right.
I do really want to make that point, though, because people who are really strong and maybe can get away for a while in their climbing without having as much technique as others, but it is really important to work on, even if you don't feel like you need it at the time.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's
that's a good point. You are absolutely going to hurt yourself if you don't climb with technique. You're just going to injure yourself. If you do find yourself getting injured a lot on climbing, maybe check yourself on your technique and pay attention to whether or not you're using technique while climbing or the correct technique while climbing, because that can sure attribute you to climbing. If you put yourself in situations and rely on your strength and technique falls by the wayside, you're going to hurt yourself. So good point, Brooke. Thank you for bringing that up. But I remember also my road to recovery, pretty minor injury. I mean, it hurt a lot, but so do most injuries. And my especially like my vertical movement, my lateral movement was pretty bad as well. But just lifting my arm anywhere over the horizon, in other words, going from engaging my, lateral movement actually is the exact way to describe it. But anytime I broke my lateral horizon, where I was lifting my arm over my shoulder, excruciating pain all the way down into like the very depth of the middle of my shoulder, straight down to the bone. And I took my time. I really took my time, and it was difficult, and I wanted to get back into climbing. But the doctor was very clear. He said, if you hurt this worse, it may never heal. I mean, it may never heal. I know people who climbed on torn rotator cuffs and now will never be able to lift their arm above their head because it's a permanent injury now. So just take the time, take all 68 weeks and just heal yourself.
Yeah, and I was definitely getting teased. I didn't take any of it seriously. It was, all in good fun, but I got a little bit from you, a little bit from coworkers, just as time passed, like, all right, Brooke, come on, how long are you going to milk it for? And my healing process did, like I said, pass that 6 to 8 week mark, but I knew, I still am not at 100%. I still cannot walk at a normal pace. I think I was walking by that time, but just not a whole lot, so, good point. Take your time, know your body, listen to your body, and do what you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, you're going to want to climb. It's natural. Don't climb while injured. Don't do that like, oh, my right arm is injured, so I'm going to go just climb with my left arm. Don't.
Dear God.
Who are you fooling? Like, let's be honest. You're just going to hurt your left arm, and then you're going to be Professor Gimpy with no arms. Like, it's just.
We actually have a good friend of ours that climbs at Vital. She's an incredible climber, and her and I were injured at the same exact time, the same foot. Her injury was a little bit more severe than mine. She actually got in a car accident, not climbing. But she started climbing with her cast on still. However, she was being belayed. So she was safe. She was not hurting her foot. I think that would have been, I would have been all over that if we, had a little bit more access to that type of climbing, because Vital's an all bouldering gym. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Right.
That she had that opportunity. But in any other case, she obviously was safe doing that. In any other case where you're kind of pushing your body and hurting your body, I don't think it's a very good idea.
Yeah, it can have lasting effects. That's the main thing to keep in mind. So, getting towards the end of the podcast here, there have been some good topics of discussion in terms of climbing injuries, climbing related injuries, injuring yourself while climbing. Brooke is our firsthand perspective on that, but she's doing well, and it's good to see her doing well. And we're moving on into that section of the night where we have our question for the viewers. And if you have not answered the question for the viewers or the listeners in the last few episodes, it's episode 5, my dude. What are you doing? Go back and listen to those and comment somewhere. Tweet at me, Instagram, comment section. Find a way to answer the question. All right, it's just 2019. All right, if you can't figure out a way to answer my freaking question, what are you doing? So today's question for the viewers. Is it worth injuring yourself to push yourself one grade farther? In other words, if you have the opportunity to push yourself to, let's say you're climbing V7 consistently, you really want to climb a V8, you have a V8, but it is, sketchy, you feel uncomfortable with the move doesn't feel natural to you, you feel like you may hurt yourself. Do you think, looking at Brooke and her story objectively, where she was able to injure herself and kind of flip it, to affecting her climbing, is it worth to put yourself at risk to injure yourself to get better at rock climbing? And this is actually a harder question than some may think, because diehard climbers are going to say, of course, I put myself at risk of injury every time I get on the wall. Of course, that's true. You are at risk of injuring yourself every time, but we all know when we're going to take a nasty fall. You know when you feel uncomfortable on the wall, when you're about to slip off the holds. Is it worth it to you to push past that? So comment below, find a way to answer to me. Brooke, what was your answer before and what is your answer now, and have they changed and why?
I think before maybe I would have been a little bit more willing to take that risk. Obviously, if I were to choose completing the climb or hurting myself, obviously if I were to choose not completing the climb or hurting myself, I would choose not completing the climb. But to choose taking the risk or not completing the climb, I think I would have been more willing beforehand to take that risk of the possibility of finishing it. Now, though, I value technique a lot, and I value how well you do a climb. Not just if you finish it or not, but if you do it well. Because two different people can do the same climb, and one of them is a good climber and one of them is not quite as good.
In terms of technique.
In terms of technique, because it's easy to watch a climber and watch two climbers, I guess, and know who's more experienced.
Right.
So I think if you're kind of, not feeling great about doing a certain climb or certain grade of climb, you don't feel safe, you're a little bit all over the place with it, I don't think you're truly at that grade yet. You maybe should try, brushing up your technique a little bit more on the grade that you're currently at, and then revisit the next grade.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. And that's actually why I'm asking this question, is because I want you to ask yourself this question every time you get on the wall. Challenge my viewers and my listeners to think about this. Every time you get on a climb, ask yourself if you feel comfortable. Ask yourself if you're putting yourself outside of your physical limits, and ask yourself, is it worth getting injured? And I mean, hell, sometimes the answer is yes. I mean, I'll just put it simply. If you're in a situation where you're pushing yourself with good reason. In other words, if you're taking a calculated risk and you understand that there's a risk of personal injury, but you acknowledge it and accept it, and you're prepared for that, maybe sometimes the answer is yes. A lot of people, more cautious people, I think climbing is definitely the wrong breed of person to speak about caution to, because a lot of climbers kind of throw caution to the wind, unfortunately, but there's also a lot of very careful, very mindful climbers out there who know what to do when things like that happens, and that's the main thing. So have some kind of a plan put together for if you get injured, be ready for it, be prepared for it. But also ask yourself that question every time you do something that feels maybe a little bit reckless or anything like that. Ask yourself if it's worth getting injured. Very simple. If I stick this move, it's going to feel great. If I get injured, it's going to feel terrible. What's more important and why? And I'm not telling you to not climb. I'm the last person to tell you to stop climbing because you're at risk of getting injured. But just know your physical limits, and know the domino effect that may occur if you do get injured. So just something to keep your thoughts on. Brooke, final thoughts?
Well, I actually have a question for you, Liam.
Okay.
So we have...
Just take hold of my show. That's fine. That's all right. Welcome back to Vertical Thoughts with Brooke. She's asking Liam questions.
You said what's yours is mine, and I'm taking it. So, Liam, my question for you is, we have all these wonderful Irish beers in front of us.
We do.
And as we've been going on with this conversation, we've been trying all of them. What do you think so far? Do you have a favorite?
I do. So I have some notes about the 4 varieties of Guinness beer in front of me. First of all, we're both stout people.
Yes.
And I don't just mean that we're strapling young lads. We both like dark beer. And we are both strapling young lads. So...
Mostly me.
Yes, Brooke is very stout. So I like all of them, of course. Guinness is a classic go-to for stout lovers. We have, again, just to recap, we have original Guinness. We have a 200th anniversary stout. We have a foreign extra stout. And then we have the Antwerpen stout, which I have never seen before, but is definitely my favorite.
Yeah, definitely new to me tonight as well.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I've never had it before. Just kind of taking a look at the box and taking a look at the bottle. It's, obviously it's Irish brewed, but it looks like it has some kind of Belgian influence to it. There's what I love about it. Pretty heavy on the dark chocolate notes. I mean, both in the aroma and also in the on the palate. There's like real nice smooth dark chocolate to it. It is the highest alcohol content. I actually like kind of an alcohol-y type taste in beer. I mean, you can really taste the alcohol in beer when you're drinking beer with a higher content. And sometimes that translates for higher alcohol content beers, especially stouts, into like a weird dark milky kind of substance. But this is also very light and carbonated, but still maintains that 8%. It's nothing crazy. There's stouts out there that are 14%, right. But 8% is a good balance in my opinion. So that one's definitely my favorite.
So my favorite after trying all of them is the 200th anniversary one. It's the export stout. It's a little bit malty. Has some chocolate in there, which I like both of those characteristics in a stout. It's also not too strong with the alcohol flavor. This is the second strongest out of the 4 that we have. It is at 6%. So, and the one that you liked was at 8. So I think maybe just our different tastes.
Right.
All 4 of them, though, I love. I would drink like a full bottle of all 4 of them. They're all very much my style and your style as well. But if I had to pick one, I would definitely do the 200th anniversary one.
Well, there you have it, folks.
Yeah.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. If you are not already, just only drink a reasonable amount. There's no reason to black out for this holiday. I mean, any. Yeah, let's be mindful of why holidays exist, and maybe just enjoy some Guinness instead.
Yeah.
So we're gonna continue drinking this. Don't forget, smash that like button. If you're on Spotify or iTunes, just smash whatever you're listening on. Punch your computer screen. Throw your phone out the window.
Give it a good old smash.
Give it a smash. Thank you for listening. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
I'm going to give you a smash.
That's real professional.
My apologies.
Disney's going to hate that.